This is Journeys of Empowerment. More than a podcast, it's a circle of belonging. A space where lived stories become turning points and clarity grows through reflection. I am Michiel Suchitrait, and here we do not rush to answers. We slow down, listen deeply, and realign with what is true. Before we begin, I want to welcome our sponsor and partner, Reinforcer.ai. Managers give feedback every day. The real question is whether that feedback actually changed behavior. You have seen it happen. New processes, new training, and still adoption stalls. And momentum fades. Not because people do not care, but because insight alone rarely turns into new habits. Reinforcer.ai operates at the intersection of enablement, ethics, and habits. Right where insight either fades or becomes sustained change. By analyzing everyday conversations in one-on-ones and team meetings, it helps leaders see what reinforces the right behavior, what misses the mark, and what to focus on next time. Built on proven behavioral science, Reinforcer.ai makes practical, ethical, and part of daily work. So progress does not rely on good intentions, but on better feedback. If you want to improve behavior where it actually forms, you can learn more at Reinforcer.ai. What if life doesn't wait for clarity and intention is something you choose while standing inside uncertainty? In this episode, I sat down with Gabriela Alvarez Burgardt, Global Senior Director, People and Culture at House of Inclusion, and someone whose life reshaped by moments she never chose, yet chose to meet fully. Raised in Brazil and long successful in international corporate roles, Gabriela's life shifted radically. During pregnancy, when she temporarily lost her sight, and years later through a near-fatal COVID experience. Those moments stripped away the illusion of later and forced her reckoning with time, values, and agency. We spoke about living with urgency, without panic, about disability and dignity in a world not built for everyone, about reclaiming identity after disruption, about inclusion beyond labels, rooted in belonging, and about courage as something you practice, especially when it hurts. She named it without drama. Life is now, not later. And this stayed with me. I didn't choose what happened to me, but I chose what I did with it. And ask yourself this: if time were no longer guaranteed, what would you stop postponing? Let's take a deep breath and begin. Gabriela, welcome to Journeys of Empowerment.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely an honor. And maybe to start with how we two met. We only met a few weeks ago at the Culture Code organized by House of Inclusion from a very good friend of mine, Sasha Martina and Danielle Jiskot. And there you were, and you were leading and moderating the panel. And I thought, like, hey, we have to meet. It's an intuition. I can't resist reaching out. I can't resist the urge to reach out. And we started a brief conversation, and now we're sitting in the podcast, Journeys of Empowerment.
Yes, I think it was meant to be. So really thank you for the invitation. And I felt the same. I felt like we know each other for a long time already. So I think it's going to be a very good conversation.
No pressure on me. Well, I'm sure, because we had quite an interesting pre-conversation, which already went really fast and really deep into our personal journeys, both of us. So there was something happening already on the connection level. And so but for listeners, of course, we heard a brief introduction from my side for who you are. But when it comes to Journeys of Empowerment, it is all about our journey, and it's all about also where are we heading towards, because the journey has a past, has a present, and has a future. So let's start with Gabriela. Who are you becoming?
Wow, you're already starting with that powerful question. Let's see how I'm going to start with that. So I think that, who I'm becoming, I'm still not the person that I would like to be, but I've been intentional about the direction that I want to pursue. And I think that clarity has become more and more clear to me with intention. Because I like my own motto is own your story. Mm-hmm. So I have been more and more aware of life is now, and we are always waiting for the perfect moment to do the things, the perfect moment to have that job, the perfect moment to do things that we always wanted. And then I don't want to have any regrets in life. And I have a couple of opportunities to think about that. And now I want to live the life that, not that I deserve, but the life that is expecting me, because I'm making the actions towards that. So I'm exactly where I want to be, because this is the intention that I took in the past years. Beautiful,
and so powerful, and it drives you. It's the life force for you, right? You can see that. I believe the listener can hear that too. You mentioned a few things already, which we are going to deep dive into. One of the things is, and we had that already in our pre-conversation, about the life of regrets and prevent that we live a life of regrets. A friend of mine has just written a book, Courage, and he's just published it. I was at his book launch, Christopher Williams, and he written a book, Courage. You will love it. The seven... So it's all about living a life without regrets, and I think that's a powerful one to start with. Where does that come from?
Well, I think that when I see myself as a person, since I was a young child, I was very empowered by my mom. So I like to say that I think that everybody. For me, my mom has a strong thing in my life. Of course, it's my mom, but also I was that baby that wasn't supposed to be. When my mom got pregnant, she somehow had a problem in her pregnancy, and they said, you need to lay down in bed the rest of your pregnancy, otherwise this baby will not going to happen. And she was very young, and she was like, well, how do I do that? I would try my best. And she lay down in bed for roughly 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Not being able to do anything. And here I am. So since that time, I think that already that power and, all of these things came through my mom. But I think that life also, as, life evolved, I have some episodes in life that was really when it made me to reflect on intention or on meaningful life, and also in what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So I always had a very plain life in terms of, I always been privileged spaces with people, good education. I mean, I was never, I grew up in Brazil, and that was never an issue. So it was a smooth path, let's say, But somehow something happened to me a couple of years ago. So I always work in corporates, in banks, in multinationals. That was never the case. Always a businesswoman, always looking into what was the next project and the next P&L, the next business thing, and really letting the life drive me. So I was just saying yes to everything that was coming to me, projects, work, travel, anything. Because the more I do, the better. The more I do, the best life I will have. And I was not overthinking about it or even doing that intentionally. I was just letting it go, And at some point, roughly, let's say 8-9 years ago, I got pregnant of my second child. At that time, I already have a 2-year-old at home. I was already working, big multinational, leading teams and etc. And it was just supposed to be another pregnancy that I would carry until the last day working, and then just gave birth to the baby and then just continue as usual. But that was different. I had a conjunctivitis early in the stage of that pregnancy. Mm. And doctors at that moment, they were very cautious about giving medication to a pregnant woman. And they tried to avoid giving me any medicine, which was fine. But what I didn't know is that in 3 days, because of this lack of treatment, this would lead me to, it's a very medical name, so it's call it neuritis optics. It's very difficult, it's very rare, but it's basically when your nerves get damaged, the nerves that connects the eyes with the brain. So in basically roughly 3 days, I've lost my vision, both eyes, same time. And at that moment, I didn't really acknowledge what was happening. I was just living day by day.
While pregnant.
So I was already, I think, like 6 or 8 weeks pregnant.
Oh, wow.
When I started to see everything like blurry because I was having a conjunctivitis. I went to the doctor. I went to the hospital. I remember I walked into the hospital and the doctor was really looking at my eyes. And at some point, everything went black. And it's like, wow, did you turn off the lights? And the doctor was like, no. And then at a moment I was like really scared. And immediately they took me to the emergency room because they didn't know what was going on. And from that day, I think I spent like a month in the hospital because they were trying to figure it out, if there was anything that could be done in terms of medication. I've tried everything. I had deep conversations also with the doctors because they said that, the baby may not be alive because we need to really get into a lot of heavy medications for you, but you're still young, you can have another baby anytime, so we need to save you. That was like, I remember every day they were checking the heartbeats and everything, because 2-3 times a day, because nobody knew at that moment. So it was a very stressful time for me. And after that, they tried to see everything, and I was even hoping for some answer. And I was even very open to, eye transplant, anything. I was really like, whatever you tell me to do, I will do it. And they said, Gabi, it's not about your eye, it's about the nerves. So it's basically when you think about your eyes as the monitor, and then your brain is the HD, and then the USB cable is basically this nerve. So it's about the USB cable. There is nothing we can do to replace. Once it's damaged, it's damaged. We suggest you to go back home, because there's nothing for you to do here anymore. For the baby, it's also not a good environment because it's a hospital. You may have something else. And good luck. And I remember that moment because I was, of course, laying down in bed, not really doing anything. So my head was like thinking 24/7. But I was like with a lot of regrets. Like in 3 days, my life changed completely. And I was regretting everything that I could have done and making a virtual wish list of things that I regret, of things that, from being more time with my son, my 2-year-old, to do something else into my career, into living abroad, into a lot of things that I was just waiting for when was the best moment, maybe when my kids are older, maybe. And that time, when that happened, I was like, okay, now I don't have that option anymore. And at that time, when I went back home, and I really remember that day going back home, of course, I wasn't born blind, so I didn't really have any time to acknowledge what happened. My house was not made for me. I couldn't eat by myself. I remember my first meal, I couldn't really eat because, of course, I didn't know where was the plate. I didn't know anything anymore. So I just felt that I was kind of like surviving. We had to hire someone to help me out with the basics. So I was even lacking, humanity for myself because I was dependent on everything. I was washing my hair with conditioner instead of shampoo just because the world is not made for everybody. And I felt that in my skin because it's so easy to put just a mark on something and not necessarily braille, but just something that you can really, by touching, know what's a lotion, what is a conditioner, what is a whatever. But again, this word was not meant for blind people. And I acknowledge that in my own skin, that how I will navigate and how I will survive, and not only survive, but thrive in a world that is not made for me. And that I wasn't prepared for that. I was waiting for a fantastic life that was cut short with that event. And I really had to rethink about all my values. I really need to rethink about what was a priority for me. I have to rethink about what's the value in terms of, sometimes you're in a society where you have pressures also on other things to show, you're worthy through material things. And that moment, I was completely naked of all of this. Didn't matter anymore, the clothes that I was using, the watch that I was using, how my hair looked like, anything. Because this was not important anymore. Also, I've started to feel people's hand, and of course, the body tried to adjust in another way. So after a while, when someone approached me, then just by touching the hand, I could know who was there. And that was like something that I developed because the body was just trying to, compensate other things. But still, that was a time that I was really asking a lot of whys, like, why that happened to me? Why I wasn't maybe smart enough to do the things that I wanted before, but of course I didn't know. But a lot of whys without answers. With a baby in my belly, so he was still alive. I didn't know how it would happen, but he was still there, hanging there. A 2-year-old at home, throwing toys on me, and I remember him throwing toys, trying to play with me, and I had no clue where he was. And that was for a mom, like, a very difficult moment because I know he needed me and I couldn't really do much with him on top of my own struggles at that moment. And it was a lonely journey as well because, of course, people were like, oh, Gabby, but, you can reinvent yourself, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah,
I could.
but one question, how do you prevent losing yourself in that moment?
Well, looking back, now I acknowledge a lot of things that at the time I was in kind of a survival mode. So it was just like, I think that because I was pregnant, there was also something bigger than me that I need to be there. So many people ask me this question, like, why you didn't just lay down in bed and let just life goes? And for me, it was because I was pregnant. So I felt a bigger responsibility that regardless of the outcome, I need to do my best. I need to try to keep myself positive. So what I've done, I've looked for courses for blind people, some NGOs that exist in Brazil, like Norinha do Will, that was the one that I reached out to ask for help, to ask for, like, I don't know how to navigate my house. I don't know how to dress myself. I don't know how to eat. I am not a person anymore when it comes to these basics. I need everybody to help me out, and I need some dignity. If I'm going to be like that, I didn't choose to. But again, life is what happens while you're busy making plans. I want to take the best out of it. So I want to get my independence back. I want to get back to work. I want to get me back to where I think I can be.
Live life.
Exactly, because there's life, You choose
and
to
there's
give
life
up.
inside of you also.
Exactly, and I think that you choose to give up life. Of course, the conditions are not necessarily the best ones, but you always have a choice. And I have chosen to continue. And at that moment, then, of course, I looked for help. I started to be more independent as a person first. And at some point, I said, an important part of me is work. Somehow I think that's also how we consider ourselves. And for me, that was an important part. And I want to go back to work. And of course, in Brazil, it's a paid sick leave. It wasn't like a financial thing that was at stake at the moment, but more of who I am, my identity, and I want to continue driving.
Your personal ethics. And
Exactly.
You don't want to get being forced to pause your life and to reinvent everything all over, right?
Exactly. For me, it was kind of like, this happened. I acknowledge I'm a different person now. But what am I going to do with that? I need to move forward. Like, I need to move forward. My body may not look like the same, but I'm still the very same Gabby somehow, that wants to move forward. So then I had a very deep conversation with my boss at the moment, like a lovely person. And he said, Gabby, stay on sick leave as long as you need, no pressure. And I don't know how, now looking back, maybe it was like a force, but I didn't really acknowledge when I was having that conversation that I said, I'm not sick, I'm blind. And I'm not getting better. This is who I am. And I don't know what to do. And I understand we also don't know what to do. But we will figure it out together. Because I still have a value and I still want to contribute somehow. And I think he wasn't prepared for that answer, but it just came very natural. And I like to say, and you will hear me saying a lot, and everybody who knows me a bit deeper knows that I love this sentence, if there is a will, there is a way. So I think that there was a will, and we made it happen. And we made it happen. We had, I've trained a lot in accessibility, so I was like, digital savvy tech using, Cortana, VoiceOver, like all those things to try to help me with the computer at that moment. I had an intern that was hired to help me with things that I really couldn't do in terms of spreadsheets and things like that. Maybe if AI exists, maybe I didn't even need that. I could do myself also through VoiceOver, but it was almost a decade ago. And prepared the team to receive me. There was no home office at the moment, so it was really an in-office experience. I was dealing with a trading floor, commodities. That was my world. So it was very interesting when I went back. Of course, a lot of emotions, a lot of ifs, a lot of, things coming. But I've made it. I've made it not, and I like to say, not in the same way as people were used to, because of course it was a different scenario. It needed to be a lot more intentional, but I was able to navigate that.
This is all still within the same employer, right?
Yes.
How did you feel while navigating all the difficulties? How did you feel at the workplace? Did you feel supported? Did you feel guided? Did you feel helped? How did it feel?
If you're looking at me at the moment and that even my eyes had a little bit of water, because it's a deep gratitude that I have for them. Because through the whole journey since it happened, when I was in the hospital, they were there for me. They were visiting me. They were really interested into me as a person. They didn't really know what would happen and if they have to replace me or whatever, but they were interested into, Gabi, we want you to feel well. We know you are pregnant. You're going through a lot, and we just want to support you, and we want you to make the decisions in the right time. We don't want to push you to do anything. I remember they hired a coach, a personal coach, just to coach me in life, when I went back home, not even work related. So they were like really going above and beyond. But I also believe that you get what you give. So I'm not saying that, sometimes you cannot have it all, but I'm saying that also because of the person that I am, I think that somehow the world shapes the people who connect with me in my journey. So it was the right people and the right team and many rights for that moment, So they were super supportive of my journey, of my limitations, of my own struggles at the moment, and very respectful of everything. And I made it through. And I became stronger, and I broke a lot of biases towards also people with disabilities. They have never had anyone before with a disability. I was already in a senior position in the corporate, so that also opened the path for others to come, because, I was showcased in many things that, helped people that came after me, and then there are some things that it's better not to ask for explanation. We just accept as a blessing. My vision started to return. Not fully, I don't have full vision. And I'm okay with what I have. Like, I can navigate, I can, read everything. Like,
you came by car.
I came by car, yeah.
No, quite essential, right?
Yes, no.
You managed the VIP parking spot between the other cars, and it's went perfectly well.
No, yes. I'm not even considered low vision. I am okay,
Yeah, but you wouldn't even imagine that.
No.
Moment,
that was completely out of any plan.
Yeah. So wow.
So can you imagine that you have an opportunity to have that back? And do you remember that I spoke about that wish list that I had while I was in the hospital? And then after, even when I was home, because I had a lot of, let's say, quote unquote, free time, because I couldn't watch a TV. I couldn't do anything. I could just maybe hear the podcasts that I did a lot. But at some point, you don't want to hear podcasts the whole day, because there was nothing else to do, because everything else, accessibility, you could really read the text, but it's not the same. So I have really a lot of time to reflect on my own life, my own journey, the things that I have been doing, the things that I was prioritizing. And then when somehow it's like, boom, you have kind of a second chance.
Let me deepen that a little bit. Let me allow me to step into this part. What was in hindsight, of course, what was the biggest transformation between the Gabby from 10 years ago and the one who sits here now? There is a sort of transformation happened there. What?
Well, I think that the only thing that remains the same is my name. Everything else has changed from priorities to intention to, again, take decisions that you are in the place where you should be because of the decisions that you took. So I became a lot more intentional with the person. So I started to work a lot more into myself and to become a better person and being a lot more aware of not only being an empathic person as a word that doesn't really have anything grounded, but really as being a better person first, but also do the things that I always wanted to do. And I had fear. So I have a tattoo after everything that happened. I have a tattoo called Fearless, that every time I kind of like, should I do that? This tattoo, Fearless, remembers me of that moment that I was somehow prevented to do the things that I wanted, and I had a second chance, and now I'm not taking that second chance for granted. Then I will tell you what I did after this time. I like to say that I did 10 years in 1 year because I collapsed so many things that I wanted to do, but I didn't really have the courage because I was in my comfort zone, because I had the money, because I have the good life in Brazil. So why should I be looking into, other things? Why should I be looking into those things?
Absolutely understandable questions. But on the other hand, if you look back, are you looking back with compassion for that part, or are you looking back with a sort of judging because you didn't know what was going to happen, which ultimately led you to the insight that you want to become a better person? But at that moment, you weren't a bad person. You were living a life of achievement. And are you looking back with judgment or with compassion?
I think it's neither one of them, but exactly. I have a good life. I was a good person, but now I am the person who want to drive impact in the society, in the others. I want to be the catalyst to empower people to go for their dreams. I don't want just to live a good life and be a good person just for myself. I think not only my story, but everybody has a story. But for me, that was a turning point that I said, I don't want to just do the things that I think I should be doing. But if today is my last day on earth, I would like to look back and not only be proud of my journey, but also know that I impacted a lot of lives.
Beautiful.
In the sense, not in the corporate sense, not in the business sense, because this is, I wouldn't say that this is easy, but what I'm saying is that this is part of what I was already doing. I was a good person. I was a good manager. But to help people to move forward, to help people to be vulnerable, to say, it's okay. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay to not know all the answers, but still it's worth to move forward. You're not going to have all the answers, but what do you want to regret? You're not going to be in the perfect time, with the perfect body, with everything perfect, but you still can make it. And I think that that happened to me somehow. Exactly, it would be much easier. And I'm a super perfectionist person. Like, no, I know that it's not possible to do, I don't know, trading while you're being blind. Or who said that? Who said that it's not possible to do things because of something? Many of those preconcepts and biases are
self-limiting beliefs.
Exactly. So I have to work a lot on myself before impacting others. And that's, again, you don't know what you don't know. So for me, that was everything that I know. And somehow life came and did this cut so hard that it forced me somehow to take a path, to choose a path, not because the life was choosing for me like it was in the past, that I was going from one work to the other, to one job, to no, but really to say, now you have the choice, and now you have to be intentional about your choices. And this changed completely how I started to see life, saying, yes, that's right, if I just let life drive me, I will have a good life. But then I will look back and maybe say like, whoa, I wish I had done this and this, but it's just because I wasn't intentional. It's just because I didn't take the decision to do so. So for me, it's a lot about that. I think that when I look back and then, I did this 1 year in 10 years. So when I really had that vision back, I said, you know what? Like, what do I really want to do? I have a good life. I acknowledge that. But what are my dream things? How I'm going to pursue? So if you look at the next year, in the next year, I moved to Italy by myself to take my citizenship, that I was missing some things. I had a 6 months child. I moved out of Brazil to Panama with my whole family for a complete new job in a new country.
Of course.
Everything new, new role, new company, new things, because I wanted to move out of Brazil. I would like to have that experience as a family. I've started a lot of other things. I started to mentor people. I started to find time for what I think it's important. And I think that I always like to think about time, because I hear from many people like, I don't have the time. I said, like, let's rephrase that. You should say, this is not my priority. Not, I don't have time for that. And when you start to do that with everything, from the gym to things in life, to meet people, it's like, this is not a priority, because if it's a priority, you make time for that. So then in this 1 year, I really speed up a lot of things on the personal level, on a professional level, on all of those things, because I was craving for that.
Of course. 10 years in 1 year.
10 years in 1 year.
Let's go.
Let's go. Exactly. I think I'm already like 100 years because it's been 10 years and I have done so much. And then when I look back, I say like, well, maybe I would be in Brazil doing and, thriving in my environment, but I decided to be intentional of my journey.
Do you feel that you are in a rush now? When living your life in a rush because of what happened, and you want to prevent the regrets that it push you in a sort of rush? Why are you laughing?
Wow, that's people that knows me deeply, they think yes, because I am always saying like time is now. I wouldn't say in a rush, but I would say very intentionally. So I am not, as a person, I'm not the super patient person at all. That like, oh, let's just put the seed and wait 10 years. No, I have never been like that. I have a lot of energy, but I think that now it's even more. So now there are a lot of things that happen also after that made me rethink again. So I have a lot of opportunities to rethink, and a lot of opportunities like the commodity cycle again. My background is trading commodities. So commodities, they have that cycle. They say like every 7 years, or it depends, that you go up and then go down. And I think that I'm kind of following that. So I have this cycle, and then in this cycle I really do everything, because yes, I don't live in a rush, but I live very intentionally at the moment. And even I will go towards that, my move to the Netherlands and everything. So I think it's about that, it's being a lot more intentional, not necessarily the rush, but yes, that like, I don't know how much time I have left. People are like, okay, maybe you die when you're 80, maybe you die when you're 100, maybe you die tomorrow.
No, but you were forced to really think about, okay, but what if that moment was now?
And that's what I put in perspective, like every day. I live every day like it's like a bit of a, everybody says that, but like, I don't live every day as if I would die tomorrow, but I live every day as, I don't know how much time I have left, and none of us, we do. And we wait for the perfect moment, but maybe the perfect moment already passed. And you took that for granted, to say to someone that you care, to say to someone that you love the person, to maybe you had a fight with someone and you just pick up the phone. Okay, nowadays nobody pick up the phone, right? Everybody WhatsApp. Like, this is also something that I'm a bit old style. I like to call. You call and you say, like, I'm sorry. So that the Gabby from 10 years ago would never acknowledge if I messed up something to pick up the call and say, like, I'm sorry.
Why not?
Now
Why not?
No, because I was like, why? Let the time solve that. And now because I don't have that time, time thing anymore, I'm like, I'm not going to spend weeks, months, maybe if I have a fight with someone or, an argument or whatever, like, let me just solve that now. Let me pick up the phone and solve it now and ask now and put really like, so I use this not only for my professional life, but for everything. But it's a construction. I need to remind me every day of my choices and my modus operandi. Because then it's easier for you also, again, to go back to the same pattern again. Mm-hmm. You get very comfortable, you're in a comfort zone, and etc. And then, again, you're like, Gabi, remember that, Gabi? Remember what happened? Remember? Are you really making it worth every day? Or you're just like, oh, I will survive this next year, and then in a year from now, I will be doing this and this and this.
Are you, in some sort of way, also more a person now who is comfortable with a little bit discomfort?
Totally. I am I am very used to discomfort as well.
Yeah, of course. Through the life events, that is all about discomfort, right? But yeah. Before that, if I had asked that question then, were you more a person of comfort?
Oh, yes. Before I was like, it's so much, when you're in your comfort zone, you feel that, you're in the safe place. Mm. But the comfort zone doesn't really drive you anywhere.
No.
You be there, you know everything, you know what's expected from you, you know your role, you know your life, you know your routine. But then that's it. Mm. So if you dream bigger, if you want different things, I think it's a sentence from Einstein, I don't know, but it's a very interesting one. Like, do you believe you're going to have different outcomes if you keep doing the same things?
No.
So, sometimes I really need to remember myself about some things, but I think I'm really living this life very intentionally since then. The past 10 years has been very intentional for me on a personal level. I still didn't accomplish everything that I want, of course. We are like always wanting more and more.
Will you ever? If I think I've come to understand a little bit more about you, and I can't believe that your list is with an end. It's limitless, and it's a limitless list. And if there's something off, then there's room to put something on.
It's like my to-do list. It's endless, exactly. It's like maybe sometimes I just add to the list just to cross, to have that feeling that I checked that box, but there is always something else. And I think that's the beauty of life, because if at some point you don't have any wish list, so what you're here for? Just to wait for the time to pass?
What are you here for?
I'm here to create impact. I'm here to be a force for good, not only for me, but for the others. To find my community, to empower people to feel that they can be themselves, and still they can thrive. And I would like to deep dive a bit into that also with other parts of my story. And I think that this is also why I believe so much in inclusion, why I believe that this topic is so relevant regardless of what is the name that we give to this at the moment. But I think that every human being would like to be part of something and would like to feel included.
We're hardwired.
Exactly. It's like, it's not about what type of minority you are. It's not about that. It's about a human being, and I've faced so many challenges by having those temporary disabilities, and I have been excluded so many times because of that for me it's a mission in life. what I do. And if I can plant one seed into someone, it's already something. If I can have a deep conversation with someone and maybe bring another perspective to that person, this is a win already. And maybe you don't need to, to try to save the whole world. You can do the things in your community, start small, but start with intention. So that's really, really what I do.
Yeah, we will take this one deeper, and but for our listeners, we missed the part, so we will come back to this point for sure. And but transitioning from the corporate life and transitioning from multiple countries, what brought you on the path to come to the Netherlands?
I think to explain, I'm sorry. I think to explain why I came to the Netherlands, I need to step, be before that. So I think that while I was doing my corporate job as procurement in Nestle in Panama, and driving a lot of savings and doing all the procurement stuff, which I like, I've started to do DI on top of that role.
Of course, of not
voluntarily, but at that moment, there was not even a name. There was no name for that. I was just there trying to empower other women, trying to empower people to feel that they could be themselves. At that office, I don't remember by heart, but there were more than 70 nationalities working together with different cultures, with different backgrounds, trying to understand each other's perspective and so on. That I've raised my hand as can I start doing something? And at that time, they said yes. But I had again, I think that, as I said, the commodity life cycle is a little bit of how I perceive myself.
Not as a commodity, hopefully.
And I have also, a situation where, back a couple of years ago, many years ago, I think 5 or 6 now, I got a very severe COVID. I was back in Brazil for Christmas time. I was already working in corporate, as I said, and I got COVID, and I almost went to the statistics. It was a very unlucky scenario for me. But again, there was a time that I really need to rethink again. I thought about my life, that I spoke about it now already when I had that blindness during my pregnancy, but I had a second chance to rethink again and to reroute again my path. So when that happened, and when I was in that oxygen machine and etc., and with a lot of challenges, I again said, am I happy with what I'm doing? Am I happy with not only what I'm doing as work? Am I happy with myself? Am I happy with the person that I'm transforming into? What if tomorrow I die? Am I still happy with the things that I have done? So, and then at that moment, I had time to reflect again on the person. And I decided to take the course, and I remember that at that moment when I was out of the hospital and etc., I was given the chance to do diversity, equity, inclusion. And they want to announce that for a broader audience. And they said, Gabi, we were thinking about doing a global webcast. But take your time. This could be, I don't know, in 6 months, in a year. We can define, because I was using an oxygen machine, imagine. And I was like, no.
Let's do a global
announcement, a global 1 hour webinar,
while
about
in an oxygen machine. And
I said, you know what, let's do now. And I think at that moment, nobody was expecting me to say that. I said, Gabi, are you sure that you want to do it now? No pressure again. It's But again, I think that when you asked me that, are you living your life in a hurry? I was again with the sense of why should I wait when I get better or whatever? Time is now. I am now. I'm alive now. And I want also to empower people that they can be themselves. I can show up myself in a camera with thousands of people that I don't even know who will be watching that, vulnerable like that. So you can be yourself. Don't feel ashamed. And then I said yes to that. I prepared the slides. I presented. People were, of course, in the beginning, they were a bit in shock. But I was okay. Somehow I was this is me. And what's the big deal?
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel great. I mean, great because, again, life is now. So I was like, I think I need to pass my message now. And I think it's important. Great because many people reached me out afterwards saying, Gabby, because of the things that you said and because you showed up. Because, again, sometimes leaders, they think that they need to put everything under the rug. And
cover their vulnerabilities.
So you can imagine you in a DEI role, speaking to a huge audience in an oxygen machine and being out there in the camera. I could be with my camera off. But I decided intentionally, again, to be with the camera on. Not because of me. Because for me, it was a construction as well, you can imagine, to show up like that. But for the others, to make them feel that if I can do this, like I am right now, you can be yourself. It's fine. It's safe. Don't hesitate to bring your whole self, not only to work, to life. And life is now. And at that moment, of course, it was COVID, so many people were like also losing their, people around that were dying. Like it was a very emotional moment, not only for me, but for the whole audience. But for me, I felt that, again, I could be doing this more intentionally. So I stepped into DI, empowering people, coaching, mentoring, doing webcasts, and doing it not only for all the communities. And then I became that person naturally. And then that position as global DEI in Switzerland was given to me basically because I was already doing that. And for me, that was a path that I intentionally took because I wanted to create even bigger impact.
And you stepped in the unknown times unknown because there wasn't even a name for it at that moment, but you did it anyway. You stepped into that role and you did it with the limitation of an oxygen mask and with everything what was at that moment happening in your life, and you did it.
And many people asked me why, and I said I think that also this helped to save me.
How do you mean?
At that moment?
How so?
The same time that I told you that by the time that I became blind during my pregnancy, the catalyst was that I have a baby that I ended up being born, and he is now 7 years old, my son. So just so people that are listening to us. But again, because I was doing something bigger than myself, even going through the challenges of recovery, it made me feel alive. It made me feel that I was doing something for the others that I should continue to do. And that was a healing thing for me. Without thinking about that, of course. But now looking back...
In hindsight, it's exactly. A healing path.
So it was like, even I like to call healing by healing. So by healing others with my webcasts, with all that work that I was doing in DI, I was healing myself to accept the new me, to accept that maybe people have different shapes and forms and backgrounds, and that's okay. That's the beauty of life, not to feel ashamed of who you are, and we have so many reasons to feel that we are not good enough, that we are not prepared enough.
We think we have enough reasons to think we are not good enough. We think, sorry to step in, but we think, and we tell ourselves that we are not good enough, and we believe that we're not good enough, but it isn't true. But we think and we say it to each other, to ourselves, unconsciously and consciously, right?
Totally. So I think it's about that. When you start to think about that, then you're like, oh, I'm not prepared. Then I'm not good enough. Then I am not, And then you need someone to shake that a little bit and say like, no, you can do it. Just go for it. Just do it. You may feel uncomfortable in the beginning. So of course it wasn't comfortable for me. But then, and I was even using a wheelchair, so it's a long story, but it was very hard for me. But I said like, I really need to do this for myself. But somehow I was also impacting other lives. And then I was in Panama, I was in Switzerland. And then you asked me why I'm here in the Netherlands. Because I decided to take an intentional decision towards my life again, saying, Europe aligned a lot more at this moment with my own values as a person, working in the field of inclusion. Netherlands is the place that I have chosen to become home. And I really looking forward to create a community of people that support each other, and also to maximize that voice that I bring also with my own lived experiences, but with my goal to change lives for the better and to be a force for good here. And again, life is now. Let's be intentional. And I said, again, I'm in a good momentum. I'm already in my comfort zone in Panama. I had been almost 7 years there. So I had everything. But again, something was missing. It was missing, again, the purpose. The purpose because Panama was not the best environment at the moment for people who advocate for inclusion. So I said, why should I be here? Gabi, but are you going to move countries? Why not? You're going to start again in a new country, don't even know the language. I learned. Your kids, they adapt. If there's a will, there's a way. And look at that. I have been here. It's been today, 6 months. And I'm sitting here in a podcast with you.
Yes.
Surrounded by many people, amazing people that I already met in that journey. They are so meaningful for me.
While listening, while listening to your story, to your journey, I don't think it is a rush. I come to believe now that it's not a rush. I believe that you are very aware, and it forced you and helped you to become aware and create a sense of urgency instead of a rush, a sense of urgency. So when we feel, there's a whole book around it, that sense of urgency, and it really opened my eyes because I always have difficulties with accepting the status quo. I don't believe in status quo. And then what? What is status quo? And then protecting the status quo. No, we're evolving. Life is moving forward. We're adapting, changing. But sometimes we need a big pandemic or another black swan in our lives, in our personal life or in a global, in society, in humanity, to get us, to move us forward. And what I come to believe while listening to your story is that these two critical life events forced you and helped you and forced you to live life with a certain sense of urgency.
You're right. I think it's more of an urgency. It's not a rush, because also when you're in a rush, you're just taking decisions and doing things for the sake of doing. I think that urgency is a bit different. It's about being intentional. And
being focused on where you put your intention and intention and in. And what not. It's amazing. And if you look back at those life critical events, and thank you for sharing so openly with our audience. And I want to ask this question, and I'm going to ask this question.
Go ahead.
Do you believe you needed to go through these life events in order to become who you are becoming?
Of course, I didn't choose to have those life events, but it definitely shaped the person who I am now, because it made me see things in many different angles. And it's kind of, it fast forward my life as if it was the end of my life. So instead of waiting for that time that I told you that maybe you're laying down in bed when you're, let's put 100 years old. I want to live 100 plus years. And then looking back at your life and doing really a recap of what I've done right, what I have done wrong, what I could have done, and so on. Really that end of life balance.
Looking back.
I had an opportunity to do like a a review, let's say, very early on. And the beauty of that is because I had that chance to do that, because sincerely, I wouldn't have done on a normal situation, because we kind of evaluate. There are like many things that you could do to, you can go for a week in a retreat and think about, how my life looks like, what I would like to change, and end of the year or New Year's, plans.
Yeah.
But when life does something like that with you, you really have to think about. And I think that was not a blessing, because, of course, it wasn't my choice.
No.
But my choice was what I would do with that afterwards. I think that was the biggest decision. Was not what happened to me, but because I couldn't control the circumstances, but really what I would do after that. Because some people go through a lot, and they go through any event, and after a while they are back to their patterns, because they take for granted. Because they kind of forget what they've been through.
What would you say? What would you say to a person that you really care about, and you notice did exactly this pattern? What would you say to that person? You really care about her or his path forward. How would you start that conversation? That uncomfortable conversation.
Well, it's very personal, because I think it's like when you're trying to say to someone that the person needs to lose weight. Until the person doesn't really wanna lose that weight, doesn't matter what you say. So I think that first it's the person, but I think that we can always. I think that by sharing my own story, I don't think I can tell people what to do with their lives, and I'm not in the position to do so. But when I share my own life and how I have been living that life after those events, I think it somehow triggers something. So that's why I think, and it's important, and it's the first time that I'm sharing openly my life like that. Of course, people that knows me on a deeper level, on a personal level, or have worked with me, you know what I'm talking about. You have been holding my hand. You have been planning how my life would look like after all of these things. But for a broader audience, it's the first time. But I think it's important. It's important to have that conversation, because it's not about changing the person, but it's about maybe bringing a different perspective to that person that is just seeing this angle. So I would say, for many people that were going through different things, not even related to my things, they're like, well, Gabi, I thought my things were like too big, or that I couldn't do anything with that, or that I'm shy to share that because this may be seen as weakness. But now I see that I can share. Now that I can see that, for example, exactly, it's easy to forget, because time is also healing. Mm-hmm. So by the time, look, it's been 10 years, almost 10 years of what happened. And sometimes I take that for granted. But then you have to have some moments to connect with yourself, and to connect with those moments of really surviving modes, and say, like, what if something happens again? Anything. Am I happy with what I'm doing? Am I happy with the path that I'm taking? Or I'm again just letting life drive me to any direction? When you don't know the direction, any direction is a good direction.
What helps you to stay so conscious about those moments? Is there a sort of process, or are you journaling, or what helps you? Because you're so, and the reason why I'm asking is you're so driven, you're so fast forward driven, and you're so on your path. But what helps you? If my friend Kimo is listening, he would love to say it. He would love this. Kimo learned me one of the most profound questions I've ever been asked, and it is, what centers you? So what centers you while being so driven, also being life fueled force extra with because I believe it's already inherited. You have a drive, you have a life force in you. Then the life experience and the lived experience and the critical events, which fueled it even more in a force to become a force for good. But how do you pause, reflect? How do you deliberately listen to yourself and ask that question? Some thought of what centers you, what helps you.
Let me breathe. I think that's the most profound question that I've been asked on a personal level. And my answer is not the one that you may think. I would say pain. And why pain? In all these circumstances that happened, and I decided to, as I said, during the COVID, things went very bad, and all those things that went afterwards. I think I never shared that with anyone. But I'm laughing because I'm nervous at the moment, sincerely. What reminds me why I need to keep in track is that I live with pain every day. And that pain is a physical pain, but it was a decision that I took when all those things happened, and there was a discussion about if I should keep my legs or not. It's a topic for another podcast, but then I decided, yes, let's just move forward. But move forward with that means that every day I experience pain. But it was my decision. But it reminds me that this is the price that I pay to be in this world. And if it's to be here, it needs to be worth it. And if I need to go through this, and this is a journey that it's very, nobody sees it, If I'm not telling, nobody would never know. But it's a reminder. And it's a reminder that it's not even in my calendar. It's not in my calendar. It's in my body. That I didn't choose to. But reminds me of my decisions every day. And if it's to be here, it's to have a meaningful and impactful life. Otherwise, there is no reason to be here. And I'm a bit emotional at the moment, but it's just that never really shared my life like that, open book, right now.
I needed a pause too. Wow. Why now?
Life is now.
But also, why now? Being so open. I believe that's also part of your path. Why now?
I wasn't even expecting to share even half of what I'm sharing in this podcast. It's
sorry, not sorry.
But I think that somehow it was a fluid conversation, and I felt that maybe there are many people out there that needs to hear that. That needs to hear that life can be tough, but the decision of how you're going to live that life is all on you. That you have to own your story again. That's my motto. That's who I am. I own my story every day. And you don't have control over the things or the circumstances in life. Any. I'm not talking about health. I'm talking about anything. But you do decide what you do with that. And how you live your life. And while you are maybe complaining about something, there is somebody else that is just craving for everything that you have. So I'm grateful for everything that I have. I don't look at the glass half empty. I look at how full. I could be here talking hours about what I don't have, what it's missing. But instead, I prefer to take the path of what I bring to the table, what I bring to this conversation. How can I become a better person? For me, for the others, for the society, without anything in exchange. I'm not looking to give just to receive something. I look into working on myself, to heal myself, to heal the others.
Wow. That's the beauty of owning my own podcast. I can do whatever I want. So if I pause, reflect, or multiple times I cried while listening to conversations, and also, so that's the beauty of having a podcast and being the CEO of your own podcast. Gabby, looking back at your path, what are you most proud of?
That I've stayed true to my values. It's so easy to just let it go when you have really difficult moments on your personal level, on your professional level, you name it, just to make the easiest path.
The path of least resistance.
Exactly.
Well, that's easy to say, yeah? Least resistance. If you have listened to your path, least resistance, as if that's even possible.
Exactly. I choose intentionally resistance over comfort. I choose to break the bias, to fight for what is right. Because for me, in the end of the day, it's about how I feel. My words matter. And to be able to sleep at the end of the day with my head that I'm doing the right thing. This is priceless.
Circling back to the first question I've asked you in our conversation, who are you becoming? While listening to your journey, you're on a path. You are definitely on your path. And try to imagine we're here back again 1 year later.
Who would I be 1 year from now?
No, that's not my question. Where are you most proud of 1 year later?
I think to take the bold decision to move to the Netherlands. It's not easy when you have a lot of uncertainty into everything and you just move out of your own beliefs, of your own research, of your own
bubble,
your willingness to become part of something bigger and more meaningful and more human. And then I want to look back and say, like, look, that was the best decision. Look where I'm now. Look the people that I've met. Look at the happiness, the joy. I didn't choose Netherlands because of the weather.
No. We're laughing both a little too loud. Oh no, it wasn't. Okay. What do you think about the food?
Not because of the food, but again, because of the people, because of the society, the values of the society, that I really crave for that. I really think that it's important for you to feel safe, to feel heard, to feel that you can be yourself. You don't need to apologize. I will tell you something. What else? I already told everything. But in Panama, I have to apologize myself so many times. I remember when I was using a wheelchair, and I live in an apartment, and there was, there is no law for anything related to that, and I was using the parking slot for people with disabilities, but there was just one, and that one was for visitors, not for residents. And they were giving me a ticket on a daily basis because I was using that parking slot. So not only I have to deal with everything that was going on a society level, I have to apologize myself and be shamed in front of everybody because of that. I have to be grateful because there was a accessible bathroom, because of course it's better if you stay at home, because you shouldn't be going to any places. If you have a disability, you should be staying at home. So, those little things that make my voice matter. And I want to be in a place where I can voice that over, that I can be heard, that I can impact others, and not just feel like I need to survive. But I can thrive, and I can make others thrive by telling my story, not my story of struggle, because it's not a sad story. I don't see like that. I see like it happened. I acknowledge, I adjusted, and I move forward in the best way that I could. And somehow, during this path, I also transformed myself into a better person. I've transformed the people around me into better people, the companies that I've worked for into more inclusive companies. And that's my mission. And again, if something happens, for me, I make it happen. I adjust, I adapt, and I move forward. I'm fearless. I don't fear anything at the moment. And I'm okay with anything.
If you had to write, we're heading towards almost the end of this conversation. I think it's only part one of many, also one-on-ones in private conversation. Would love to continue to have conversations with you. And but if you if you would have to write a letter to society.
You want the title of the full letter?
What would be the core message if you have to write a letter and everyone is forced to read it? What would be your? I've never asked this question. I don't know where it comes from, but somehow it popped up. What would be your core message in that letter to society? And everyone had to read. Needs to read it. Not need to read it. They are forced to read it. What would be the message?
Wow. Message to the whole society.
In the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. Create a society where everybody has a seat at the table. Where different voices, different people, different backgrounds are allowed. Let them just be. Don't force a framework. Don't set the tone. Let people bring their whole selves to life. Empower people to connect.
Yes.
Remove and transform pain and angriness into love and kindness. Make people aware that time is not equal for everybody. And the decisions of each and every person matters. But also lead each and every person to a different path. Don't try to solve all the problems and create perfect paths, because challenging times bring powerful people. But let them be. Don't force them to fit in a box, just to have the opportunity to be there. Empower people to show up as they are, with their own vulnerabilities, with their heart, with their feelings, because everything else is taken. The time is now, but it's not a rush.
It's a sense of urgency.
It's an urgency with intention.
Gabby, thank you so much for our conversation. I'm looking forward what future might unfold, and if you need any support when it comes to community, thought and building, I'm just one phone call away.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I think it's the very first time that I'm sharing that, as I said, like that, but I think it's necessary, and it's a good way for me to open that chapter in the Netherlands. And you can count on me, of course, since day one, for anything that matters, because this is what matters.
Thank you for listening and staying with us in this conversation. If something from this episode stayed with you, consider passing it on to someone who might need it right now. And if you choose to subscribe or leave a short review, you help these conversations reach others who are still looking for clarity, direction, or a sense of belonging. That is how the circle grows, quietly, one listener at a time. Keep going, keep becoming you.